Hello, hello, my fellow creationists and skeptics. Hope everybody's doing good. It's a nice day today, nice and cool. And we'll see how this live stream holds up. Anyways, I want to revisit the rooting of the tree, the rooting of the family tree, because I might have made a few little mistakes here and there. Hello, Doki. Doki Doki. God bless. So I might have made a few little mistakes, and I just wanted to like revisit it so I can, get everything going good, everything straight. So let's just go ahead and go to the share screen and to the picture. And of course, these are genetic identifiers linking the various people. And there seems to be a little bit of confusion as to who's first, who's on first. I mean, who came first and who was is the firstborn, who's later born, and but I was thinking, of course, I got to thinking about it, and turns out it really doesn't matter who was born first because if it goes, it'll go one way as easy as it goes the other way, right? You either gain a mutation or an identifier, or you lose it. So let's say Shem is the firstborn, and going this direction. These identifiers, some of them are being lost, but others of them, like, let me see, is it this one? Is shared with everybody because CT is shared with everybody except for A and B. So everybody, so that could have been, that could have been a loss for A and B, right? But some of these are like in between, anyways. CF and something like CF that would include Nimrod, that would include the Egyptians and Put and Canaan and Nimrod. And it would also include, apparently, I don't know if it includes the whole entire F or not. But anyways, this identifier connects these various people. I'm guessing it includes all of F, but not K. So that kind of seems to indicate that Japheth was born first, because then it's an identifier that Shem had and that Ham had, but that was lost to A and B, which is the later descendants of Cush. Because, of course, Cush, his firstborn son was Nimrod. So, and he was the king of the world. He basically ruled the entire world. He was like the great mighty hunter and, you know, king, basically. Because you wonder how he became king? Well, it's easy. Just all of his descendants. He had a big family, and all of his family is basically his whole family ruled, everybody. You know how the proverb says that, blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them, or has many sons, because you tend to take over when you have a lot of sons. because, of course, your sons were all on the same side, and that's just the way it works, right? Anyway, so apparently that's how that worked. But yeah, that's kind of an indication that Japheth was born first, because he doesn't seem to have the identifier that Ham and Shem had here in this one. Which one is it? This one here? Where? No, this one here. This one, CT, is the identifier that everybody has, except for Cush's other brothers, which apparently lost it. So this is basically an identifier of the whole human race right here, with the exception of Nimrod's other brothers that apparently lost that identifier. This one here links Shem and Ham together. So however that works out, I'm thinking the F includes the entire line of F, excluding K, is what I'm thinking. And then, of course, this identifies Assyria, Elam, Arpachshad, and Japheth, the descendants of Japheth. This one only Elam, Arpachshad, and descendants of Japheth. This one only Arpachshad and descendants of Japheth. So that's how that would work. But there seems to be some discussion as to who was the firstborn. In the case of Arpachshad, which is Shem's son, he was born 2 years after the global flood, which is that's sort of an indication that he was probably the firstborn. So that would be the reason for him sharing an identifier with Japheth and not his other brothers. So he would be the firstborn then. But anyways, I don't want to spend too much time on this, since I've already been over it and explained it repetitiously for quite a lot. But it does make a difference where you root the tree, and it seems to me the tree is rooted in Japheth as the older brother for right now. But if anybody has any comments or suggestions, that might work too. Hello, David. Well, David. I always pronounce it wrong. Let me see. Oh yeah, I had coffee this morning. I think is that a coffee cup? I don't know what that is. Anyway. So, Shabbat Shalom, David. God bless. And I hope I'm not breaking too much of the Sabbath rules, because I'm on the computer. But I'm not doing a whole lot of work. I got sparks going on inside of my computer, or at least switches, but I don't know if that counts or not. Anyway, let me see what else we have here. I always like going back to the beginning, but that's a long way back. Of course, I've been over this a lot too. Just about everything I've been over. Oh, but regarding Dr. Jeanson, he went back, was talking about the the genetic distance, or the way of dating, or the mutation rate. He went back to talking about the mutation rate, which is probably his strong suit, and disproving the the timeline. So yeah, it's a recommended view, Dr. Jenson's recent video, because he shows how, in great detail, he shows how um, the timeline, or the age that they put, or the mutation rate that they take, is fudged, or they factor in, they do all kinds of gymnastics to try to get it to fit with millions of years, including assuming the age of the connection between chimps or troglodytes and human beings, which is a false assumption, of course. But anyway, this is where it all started here. What got me started in all this is this right here. This C paternal Y chromosome, which is, of course, it's in this entire area here. It's all the way into Europe. If anybody wants to, disagree, C1 is all in Europe and everything. At least ancient DNA. C1 is in Europe. So this is what got me started, because this is Hamitic, of course, as well as D, Tibet Burman, and D, Paleo-Siberian. But the Paleo-Siberian, that could be connected with the Denisovan too, because that's pretty not far from the Denisovan area as well, which could be the reason both the C and the D are in this location, right? So the C and the D are both Hamitic, and it turns out that the Denisovan is most related to people in Papua New Guinea, which is where Papua New Guinea, yeah, and of course MDS is Japhethite, but it's also K. The M and the S is connected to the K family tree. They just separated a long time ago. But it's the same family tree as the K, which would be Tubal in my calculation. It's kind of a process of elimination. Once you get C and the D straight as being Hamitic, and you get the other ones as Japhetic, if I can find it. There we go. So the F, G, H, I, and J is Semitic. The K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T is a separate group, which would be Japhetic. The L and T are closely linked. The N and O are closely linked, and the Q and the R are closely linked. So they were brothers that were born at nearly the same time. And it turns out K is closely linked to N and O too. Not too far from N and O. Because the K is not only this entire group, the K is an individual lineage as well, as we've seen. And of course, the K is the same thing as the M and the S. So if you want to break it down, K is Tubal, L is Tiraz, T is Javan, N is Meshach, O is Magog, M and S is K, which is Tubal. Then you have a P group, which is Q, which is Madai, R, which is Gomer in Europe. Because that's another way to identify Japheth is Gomer in Europe. And of course, these being Semitic would be I is the Semitic lineage in Europe. J is the Semitic descendant of Arpachshad in the Middle East. Of course, I is descendant of Jacob too, or Arpachshad too. But J is Semitic in the Middle East because it's Arabic, it's Judaic, it's Hebrew, it's anything that is descended from Arpachshad. H is one of the first ones I agreed to that was Elamite because of the connection here. The connection here in India of the Semitic H and the Dravidians. And Dravidians have a culture derived from the Middle East area, which is Elamo-Dravidian. Now here they have it linked to El, but El is Japhethite. It's not Semitic. Elam is Semitic. El is Thrace. The Thracians descended from Tiraz, which probably Alexander the Great brought to India. But these Elamites, Dravidians, they probably were here longer, but they're Semitic, so that's why I linked H as being Elamite. Then there's also the H2A, which is the Gypsy population, and that's Semitic, but they also claim to be Judaic. And in one of my pie charts, I have that the Gypsy population is, second to H, they're J2, not J1, not I, J2, which is Judaic. So their claim of being Jewish as well, having Jewish ancestry as well, is also true because of the J2 that they have in their population. Now, I might be able to find a pie chart about that. But of course, here we can see J1, by all accounts, is Middle Eastern / Semitic. J1 is pretty much Arabic, except that some tribes, such as the tribe of Aaron and the Levites, they are J1 as well. The Cohen modal haplotype is J1. So it's the same, it's a specific J1, which is in Arabic, is separate from the Arabic population. So that's a dead giveaway, really, since the Cohen modal haplotype is J1, and the majority of the Jewish population, especially the Ashkenazi and the Sephardic Jews, is J2, the majority haplogroup. So it's plus the fact that Japheth went north, and all the Japhethites are in the north. And later, the O migrated into the land what was called Sinim. Sinim after the tribe of Sinim, which is the descendants of Canaan, that went to China all the way as far as Japan, which originally, if you go down the Silk Road, China, or is that the Silk Road? That's a little bit higher than the Silk Road. But anyways, if you go into the area called China, that would be the land of Sinim in the Bible, because the Bible talks about the Jewish people coming from as far as Sinim. And it turns out that even the Uyghurs population are Judaic, believe it or not. They have the J2 haplogroup because of the merchants that traveled the Silk Road all the way to China. So the Uyghur population, not only are they just a minority in China, they're also Judaic, descended from Judah because of the Silk Road. So it's a well-known thing. So it's pretty much well established. If anybody has any suggestions, I would, I'd be open to listen. Of course, the Q is Madai, separate from R. R1A is Ashkenaz, but the Q is Madai because this is the area where Madai went to, which is also the area where the X maternal mitochondrial DNA is found. The maternal haplogroup of X is also found in this area here, as well as, the W and the W, the X, and one more of the maternal haplogroup is also in the same area where Madai was. And of course, in America, where the Q went all the way, of course, this is Madai Q. This is why I chose Q as Madai, because it's, the area of the Medes is right here. Or no, right here. This is the area of Elam, but the area of the Medes is right here exactly. The original area of the Medes. So, of course, they went to Europe. They also went all the way to America. The Q went to America, the majority. But it's interesting that the Meshach, the N, didn't go to America. They went all the way here, but the Q kept going. The Q basically is the majority population in America, all the way down through South America. And of course, the C, paternal descendants of Nimrod, are also here, which we've also discussed, the Wayu, the Kichwas, and the Wauranis. They're descendants of Nimrod. And up here in North America, it'd be the Nadene. Nadene, or however you want to pronounce it. So, and they're, of course, the descendants of Nimrod, because it can't be anybody else. The sea, because Nimrod was the king of the entire world. And he was the king of the land of Shinar. And they went into Europe. Of course, you can see they went east. And of course, they went all the way to Australia. C4 is the descendants of Nimrod. K, of course, is the descendants of Tubal, which is the same family as the M and the S of Papua New Guinea, which is autosomally is the same descendants as the Andamanese as well, autosomally. And because of this, seafaring route. Of course, the Andamanese D is also linked to the Sinim or Tibetan Burmans, as well as this Paleo-Siberian. That must be a fossil, what they call fossil evidence or something. But they today live in parts of China or Russia, I guess there, and all the way to Japan. Because originally this is all D2 population, but the O came later and pushed up the D. The Ainu Japanese, Jomans pushed them up into the north. In other words, they were like pushed out of the majority of population in Japan, and they were replaced by the O. So the O seems to have come later, which is Magog. It has to be Magog. The N has to be Meshech, and the R has to be Gomer in Europe, because history says that Gomer went to Europe. Of course, R1A is Ashkenaz, R1B is Ripfath, which is most of Europe, Western Europe, is Ripfath, known to have gone into Southern Europe. And we have R2 somewhere, which is probably Togarma. But that's about it, I guess, for right now. Don't want to keep going through. Brother Timothy, Keith Colvin. Let me see what we got here. Brother Timothy. And the Uyghurs are being persecuted, yes. And that might be the reason why they're going to, the Judaic people are going to come from as far as Sinim, China. Okay. Okay. That's about it. I don't want to beleaguer it too much. Just that I had this little correction here, which maybe it's not a correction. That actually the root of the tree. Where am I? The root of the tree could possibly also be with Shem, except for the fact that the CF seems to include Shem and Ham and not Japheth, for whatever reason. Maybe Japheth lost it or something, I don't know. Or maybe he didn't have it. Or if he's the firstborn, maybe Noah didn't have it, or maybe Japheth just lost it, which is a possibility as well. So you can pretty much root the tree with Shem as well. if Japheth just lost it, and you still have all these identifiers. But this really, spooked me when I saw the stair step of the genetic evidence connecting all these people in a stair step kind of fashion from Ham going all the way to Japheth. But Ham is the youngest, as far as I can tell, and I have to study some more to see if Shem wasn't the firstborn or if Japheth wasn't, because there is some discussion saying that Japheth was the firstborn. So I have to look into that some more. If anybody has some suggestions or comments about that, because it really is pretty important to know who was the firstborn. For example, Arpachshad would be the firstborn because he was born 2 years after the global flood, right? Probably the firstborn. And according to this genetics here, it looks like he is the firstborn. Then it was Elam was born before Asher of the Assyrians, and that's what the genetics shows here. And then F1 and F2 and F3 and stuff is missing on this chart, but they were born later. If you root the tree with Japheth going this way. So that's about that. It's not so frightening anymore once you look at it, because we know who these people are. We know who Shem was, we know who Japheth is, and we know who Ham is. We know all their sons, 16 grandsons of Noah, which make up the table of nations that everybody is descended from. So I guess that's about it for right now. Not a very long video, but that's okay. Let's see. What order does Dr. Jeanson have them? That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he has an order. Well, he says it's definitely not rooted with A, but he has a little bit different order. It's really kind of hard to understand because he has he has I think F, G, and H as being Hamitic, which there's a pretty good separation between the two, which I don't believe that they're Hamitic, of course, because they're Elamite and Assyrian, and it just doesn't make sense. But what he does have is the T as being Judaic, or the Jews, or Israel. Somehow he has the T, but then again, the L is the Thracians. So I don't know how he has the Thracians, because the L and the T are closely associated. But actually, he has the T as being the entire Semitic branch, pretty much. I don't know if he includes the L with that or not. But he has all the descendants of Shem under T. No. Well, T. Yeah, T. Well, no, he has the Jews under T. He has all the Semitic descendants as I believe K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. So he switched Japhethite with the Semitic populations. So he has the Semitic populations as Japhethites, which is totally wrong. And he has the Japhethites as being Semitic, and the T as being the Jews. So that's kind of weird, but his latest video is about the genetic distance or the mutation rate. The mutation rate, if you go strictly by the mutation rate, according to Dr. Jeanson, it goes back 2,000 years. 6,000 years. It doesn't go back to supposedly, you know, apes and humans or chimpanzees and humans. It doesn't go back millions of years or whatever it is. And of course, the root would be in a different place. I'm not sure where he roots the tree. I guess he roots it with Shem. I don't know. That might be why he thinks the Japhethites are Semitic, because maybe that's where he roots the tree. So he would root it backwards instead of forwards. But we have to figure out who's the firstborn, who's the secondborn, because there is a verse in the Bible that seems to indicate that Shem is the oldest son. But then again, there's other reasons to think that no, Japheth is the oldest son. Shem might be older in another respect, but we have to look at that some more. But there is some indication that Shem is not the oldest son, that Japheth is the oldest son, because some calculation or something. But anyway, we have to look at that some more. But the way you root the tree, it could possibly easily be either way, because it could go one way just as easily as it would go another way. So if you root the tree with Shem, this way is down and this way is down. It could be just as easy going that way as this way, except for the fact that Arpachshad, being the oldest son, being born 2 years after the global flood, is linked to Japheth. So if it's in Shem, if it's rooted in Shem, then the firstborn, well, it'd still be the same, I guess. So the firstborn Arpachshad has has a link when Japheth was born, the same link that Shem later lost, and so that would be something that Noah had when Japheth was born, but not when Ham was born. So it could probably go either way. So this is just evidence. The way you interpret it makes a big difference. How you interpret it. So but there does seem to be a huge separation between these various groups here. The Hamitic group, A, B, C, D, and E, are together. Of course, they put the C out here to connect with the F. And then the F, G, H, I, and J is another group. Of course, they have that connected by way of Arpachshad. They have it connected to K, which is the K element of P, Q, R, S, and T. So I guess that, can we rule out Shem, Ham, and Japheth are triplets, born on the same day, for example? Yeah, that's what I used to think when Madai, the commonality between Madai and Gomer, and Javan and um, Tiraz, and Meshach and Magog. But then that would have to be three different sets of twins, which would be far fetched. But I mean, there's lots of different ways to look at it, but the most recent video by Dr. Jeanson is about the mutation rate, which can't possibly go beyond 6,000 years. And of course, then there's geneticists say that the mutation rate is not going to show anything, because in some cases you have different mutation rates. And Dr. Jensen's point is, well, they never check the mutation rates of A and B. But then my problem with that would be, well, yeah, but what if they don't have the same diet? What if A and B doesn't have the same diet today or habits today as they did for thousands of years? Then the mutation rate is not going to be the same. It's going to be more like the European mutation rate, right? Because the European mutation rate isn't very, not as much. Even though there's the same age, the mutation rate is a lot different. So then you get, it seems, the longer, of course, this T here is probably in Africa, because there is a T in Africa too. There's a T lineage, which is Javan, because they had trade with Africa. There's Greeks in Africa today. So that might have changed the mutation rate of T. Of course, one of them is long and one of them is short. Again, with K, M, and S, they're fairly long, because so the mutation rate is faster. Some of the O is fairly long, N not so much. But then again, it's harsh climate and everything, But the Europeans seem to have a lower mutation rate than a lot of these other ones. C, some are long, some are shorter, because this is genetic distance, by the way. That's the reason for the length, is the mutation rate. So there's a lot of mutations in A and B, which is, way in Africa. But this is, of course, selective, and it's, according to Dr. Jeanson, when they did the genome project, diversity project, they were using poor quality with less coverage DNA samples of less coverage, so they weren't getting the more accurate mutation rate. So you can watch Dr. Jenson's video on that to explain that, because I think he's doing a good job with that. The only thing is this, of course, would all be Semitic, according to Dr. Jeanson, right? And that's just, with all the battles that Israel had in the Middle East, where Shem was, you're going to tell me they have all these descendants surviving today? I would suggest not. this is more appropriately of course, who knows what numbers these are, the numbers of I is a huge group too in Europe, and it's just small, it's represented small right here. But the number of haplogroups alone suggests that this would be Shem because of the fact this is I and J is 1, 2, 3, and F1, F2 are totally separate to be 4 and 5. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's 5 sons of Shem right there. Now with the Japhetites, you have 7 sons. So R is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I miss one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I forgot it. Q. Q is separate from Madai is separate from Gomer, so Q is separate from R. So that's 7 sons right there, And then the Hamitic people would be the E3, which is not even in this sample here. You have E1, E2, and E3. Well, the E1, E2 is here. The E3, well, maybe they changed this. Maybe they changed this identifier. Maybe this is E3. So they might have them here. E1, E2, E3 would be Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. Then you have Sinim, which is a descendant of Canaan. And you have Nimrod, which goes all the way, connects to A and B, which is Cush. So A and B is Cush. As far as I can tell. As far as I can tell, because A and B basically the same thing right there. The same lineage by themselves. So that, this is the conventional idea anyways, that this would be the Japhetites, this would be the Semitic population, this is the Hamitic population. That's the conventional idea anyways, as I showed earlier. Okay, 6,000 years max based on mutation rate has to be very accurate. Yes. And if you watch the video that Dr. Jeanson did, is because they put a lot of adjustments in there to try to link the human population with the monkey population. And there's no such thing as magical morphin monkeys, of course. Totally separate, totally different, and evolution is totally debunked, and they need to remove it from every publication and everything, it needs to be understood that it's total nonsense. And I was watching a video today that they're talking about the difference between philosophy and science and going back and forth, which is better. Philosophy is no good anymore. But then the last point the guy made was that, evolution is a philosophy that's not based on any science at all whatsoever. So I thought that was pretty hilarious. It's just a philosophy belief with no physics, supporting it. There's no physics behind evolution. It's totally absent of any science whatsoever. So God bless everybody. Take care, and see you maybe next time.